Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Yasodhanandana Brajajanarandana
Yashodanandana
Yasodhanandana Brajajanarandana
Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Yasodhanandana Brajajanarandana
Yashodanandana
Yasodhanandana Brajajanarandana
Yashodanandana Brajajanarandana
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
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 Srimada's Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki,
Jai.
Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki,
Jai.
Lord Pimana. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Canto 11, Chapter 18. Description of Varnasrama Dharma. Text 10. Yastve tat kricharataschirnam.
Yastve tat kricharataschirnam.
Taponikshayasam mahat.
Taponishreyasam mahat.
Kamaya piyase yunjad.
Kamaya piyase yunjad.
Avishako parastata.
Avishako parastata.
Yastve tat kricharataschirnam.
Yastve tat kricharataschirnam.
Taponikshayasam mahat.
Taponishreyasam mahat.
Kamaya piyase yunjad.
Kamaya piyase yunjad.
Avishako parastata.
Avishako parastata. Yastve tat kricharataschirnam. Taponishreyasam mahat. Kamaya piyase yunjad. Valishako parastata. Yastve tat kricharataschirnam. Taponishreyasam mahat. Kamaya piyase yunjad. Valishako parastata.
Yastve tat kricharataschirnam.
Yastve tat kricharataschirnam.
Taponishreyasam mahat.
Taponishreyasam mahat.
Kamaya piyase yunjad.
Kamaya piyase yunjad.
Valishako parastata.
Valishako parastata. Yastve tat kricharataschirnam. Taponishreyasam mahat. Kamaya piyase yunjad. Valishako parastata. Yastve tat kricharataschirnam. Yastve tat kricharataschirnam. Taponishreyasam mahat. Taponishreyasam mahat. Kamaya piyase yunjad. Kamaya piyase yunjad. Valishako parastata.
Valishako parastata.
Yaha. One who.
One who.
Two.
Two.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Etat.
Etat.
This.
This.
Krishrataha. With great penance.
With great penance.
Chirnam.
Chirnam.
For a long time.
For a long time.
Tapaha.
Tapaha.
Austerity.
Austerity.
Nikshayasam.
Nishreyasam.
Awarding ultimate liberation.
Awarding ultimate liberation.
Mahat.
Mahat.
Glorious.
Glorious.
Amaya.
Amaya.
For sense gratification.
For sense gratification.
Alpiyase.
Alpiyase.
Insignificant.
Insignificant.
Yujyat.
Yujyat.
Practices.
Practices.
Balishaha.
Balishaha.
Such a fool.
Such a fool.
Ka. Who.
Who.
Aparaha.
Aparaha.
Else.
Else.
Tataha.
Tataha.
Besides him.
Besides him.
Translation. One who, with long endeavor, executes this painful but exalted penance which awards ultimate liberation simply to achieve insignificant sense gratification must be considered greatest fool. Purport. Although the process of Vanaprastha described by Lord Krishna is so glorious that even the consolation prize is promotion to Maharloka, one who consciously performs this process for such promotion to heaven is certainly the greatest fool. The Lord does not want this process to be abused or exploited by materialistic rascals for the ultimate goal is love of Godhead. Typically strong Srimad Bhagavatam language. Even that which is exalted, given by Krishna himself, the person who follows it, now the consideration is for the achievement of some paltry, temporary sense gratification, that person is foolish. Language of the greatest fool. Greatest fool. Balashaha. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, one of the ways to make it very clear again and again and again what the goal is the compare and contrast method of education. To say what something is, you make a contrast of what that something isn't, and so you know what that something is with greater clarity. Compare and contrast. So within the, at least within the translation, is which awards ultimate liberation, and the Sanskrit phrase is nikshayasam, shreya and nikshreya. Preyas, shreyas, and nikshreya. Shreyas. So, preyas is short term, shreyas is long term, and nikshreya is ultimate. So, what the previous verse says is the person who does this process goes to Maharloka and then directly achieves me. And achieves me means back to Godhead. But there's a stopover, a transit lounge stopover. Which one achieves if one has this aspiration for sense gratification? Kamaya alpiyase, alpa, very small, insignificant. Kamaya, kama, and then kamaya, for sense gratification, insignificant sense gratification. Wanting to go to Maharloka. Sometimes Krishna is very liberal. Sometimes Krishna is not so liberal. And in liberal places, like in Bhagavad Gita, he includes multiple people who are his devotee. And in one sense, he's speaking like that here, that they attained ultimate liberation. But because they, behind their, or combined with the desire for sense gratification, behind it is the desire to be in service to Krishna. And there's some further purification that's needed to release one from the aspiration for a kamaya alpiyase, insignificant sense gratification. So that's the compare and contrast. So it's not the process, it's Krishna speaking it, so it's not we trash it. But if the aspiration is, if the consciousness behind the activity isn't right, then that's quite foolish. So that's the lesson of the Bhagavatam is Shuddha Bhakti. And compare and contrast helps us understand what Shuddha Bhakti is. I'm tempted to spend a little bit of time, so I'll follow my temptation, to share. There's not a great deal of clarity about Vanaprastha in the Hare Krishna movement. Not a great deal of clarity about Vanaprastha. Prabhupada certainly spoke about it, wrote about it, wanted it, but what does it look like? And where's that rare species? The Vanaprastha person. Some of you know, in Baltimore, the devotee who was the president there for some period of time, and Jaipur Sundar, and his wife. I have a long-standing relationship with them, and I presented this to him. It's very clear, you're in your Vanaprastha stage of life. Your duties to family and house and all those things, it's concluded. You're in the Vanaprastha stage. Why don't you consider writing something? It doesn't have to be definitive and final and authoritative and all-encompassing, but something that says, Vanaprastha Asrama is made up of you like to study and read, and what does the scripture say about it, and discuss with others. And he thought it was a nice idea, and I don't know if he did anything with it.
He did.
He did?
It's published in Dhanavas. They published his article in Dhanavas.
Oh, great.
Some time ago. Yeah.
Because before him, there was another devotee that eventually didn't do it. He wanted to have a ministry, a Vanaprastha ministry, Jayananda. Some of you know Jayananda now, Swami, or Goswami, or whatever. So he wanted to start, and there wasn't much traction. Thank you for telling me that. I'll go look at it. Congratulate you.
It's been about a year or so since he came out.
Fantastic. Without belaboring it, there is some sannyasi or two that visits Alachua and gets the stick out and lets people have it. Where's the Varnaprastha ashram here? I think you know who I'm talking about. It's not just one, it's more than one. So there's lack of clarity. So I don't know if any of you have been asked, I've been asked, when we reach this stage of life, what do? Well, go to the Bhagavatam and read in Canto 7 and read in Canto 11, what it looks like. And then, what? What? Off. So how are we supposed to, so the description of the Varnashram's Dharma, description of Varnashram Dharma is the title. This opens up this whole other topic of, aside from Vanaprastha, did Prabhupada want Varnashram or not? And there's camps. This is ISKCON. Some people have their quotes that say, not possible, Yoga Dharma and Sanatana Dharma, and that's what we do, because it's not possible. And, different reasons. They're not qualified brahmanas to give the teachings and to help people do it, and so then there's this other, group of people that say, Prabhupada wanted it. And they have their set of quotes, and they just tend to disagree with one another. Without further elaborations of the categories of disagreement. It's meant not for devotees, it's not meant for devotees, it's meant for people outside. Yes, we can show, but it's just to show people. We really don't buy into it because we know better. Some people have, they're in the fence in between yes and no. So, it's a nice topic because there's some people who believe that Prabhupada wanted it, but where is it? What does it look like, and how do you get there? Just sharing. because that's the topic here. It's like, how do you do this? And how do you not be a fool? But does that mean all of those things are to be trashed, although Krishna said it? So, if that's it, who's going to do that? Even if you don't have it for the purpose of sense gratification, who's going to do it? What does the Varnapastha ashram look like? Or what does the Varnashram system look like? So we had this little Exploring Varnashram seminar, and Prince Bihari immediately contacted me when he found out I was planning that and said, uh-oh, controversy, and you have to do this right because it's just going to lead to people bashing one another. And so, okay, you can be the facilitator. So he immediately agreed to be the facilitator to stop people from bashing one another, and suggested people that could, be balanced. And it was a nice, it's recorded. And one of the things, the two of the presenters, I would say, the most outstanding presenter in the balance department was somebody we don't know out here on the East Coast, Ms. Tukaram Prabhu. Tukaram Prabhu was fantastic at researching. And he doesn't take sides, he just, looked at the big picture, and he went down the path of over here and then over there, so how do you put it together? And basically, Prabhupada wanted it, but it's not like 7th canto and 11th canto picture. But he wanted it, there's elements, and how do you select the elements? But that's another thing. But he wanted it, and how do you get there? That's a whole other picture. So just a little sharing. I hope you don't mind. In Mayapur, I saw Radhakrishna Prabhu. Radhakrishna Prabhu is a newly elected GBC member for 3 countries, with the idea that he'll have to expand after some time. But he's based in Hungary. And I said, I really like what you all are doing, and I understand you've been working on this for years, like not armchair, but really trying to get down to how do you get from where we are to where we want to be. And I'd like to visit and see what you hear and see. And he gave a very humble response saying, actually, we've hardly made any progress. But they have 15 to 20 devotees that, at least for some period of time, they're meeting weekly. And it's not just the farm, but it's the urban and the preaching centers, and the book distributors, and everybody, a comprehensive picture of the social structure that's supportive of becoming Krishna conscious. That's the message. And they have their procedure. And without further, anecdotal pieces, there are very few places that really take it seriously, and some are really fanatic this way, and some are really fanatic that way, and I'm not so comfortable with fanaticism. But a balanced presentation on what does it look like and how do you get there. It's been a few decades of people not knowing what it looked like and how to get there. Now, back to the verse. One thing that we know for sure is it's not to support and justify sense gratification. This verse is making it very clear. There's other verses that say similarly, that I'll refer to one. Dharmasya hi apavargasya narto tayopakalpate. Nartasya dharmakantasya kamolapai hi smrita. Canto 1, Chapter 2 holds keys to many texts that echo the same message in other places in the Bhagavatam. It's just there's a key verse. So when speaking specifically now about Varnashram Dharma or any other principle of Dharma, Dharma is meant for apavarga. Here the term is mikshreyasa, ultimate liberation. And that's how exactly the translation Prabhupada uses is apavarga. Pavarga and apavarga. Pavarga, material existence. misery in material existence, and apavarga is minus it, so liberation. But Prabhupada translated it as ultimate liberation. Ultimate liberation means not just this becoming one with the Supreme, but being situated in one's relationship with Krishna, as he says here, Nikshayas are coming to me. That's the previous verse. Thus worshipping me through severe penances, he goes to the Maharaloka planet and then directly achieves me. Upaiti, mam. It's not merging, it's the spiritual world. At least like Kunta, or because it's Krishna speaking, perhaps it's Goloka, but entrance into Goloka, there's this special requirement. That's mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or the mercy of the residents of Vrindavan, then you can go to Vrindavan, you can go to Goloka. But attain to me, that's this ultimate liberation. So beyond the oneness with the Supreme Idea is attaining Krishna's abode and being engaged in an eternal relationship with Krishna without any hankering for something temporary. So, dharmasya hi apavargasya. Following of Dharma, like this one, in Canto 11, Chapter 18, the Varnasrama Dharma, it's meant for ultimate liberation, not meant for the stopover program and go to Maharaloka. And it's not, a place of luxury in Maharaloka. It's a place of austerity, but it's not, those that go there are not Shuddha Bhaktas. They have some other, along with Bhakti, they have some other hankering, as the verse indicates. Rather, so Dharma is to be performed for ultimate liberation. Never should it be performed for sense gratification. Kamo labhaya hi smritaha. Never. So that's an injunction and a prohibition in one phrase. And then the next is kind of checkmate. Supposing you don't hanker for some facility for sense gratification, but it comes rolling at your feet. Please take me, please take me. Krishna must want it. A little. Little. Not a lot. Little. No. The second part is, and if something does come, some facility does come from your following Dharma for this apavarga purpose, it's never to be used in sense gratification. It's only to be dedicated in service to the Supreme. Strong. And so then comes this condemning language that, someone's a fool. They get no benefit if they do this, foolish program. No, there's some benefits. One goes to Maharaloka and it's, the misery is less. The material misery of living in Virginia or Maryland or, the Earth planet or the material cosmos. It's diminished. But birth, death, disease, old age, those factors exist in Maharaloka. You read in Brihad Bhagavatamrita when Gopakumar goes to Brahmaloka. Of course, Sanatana Goswami is depicting this way, but Brahma's in big anxiety, I'm going to have to die too, and yada, yada, yada. Because everything, even in the topmost planet, Brahmaloka, it's all temporary. And those things that you have that are temporary, if one is attached to them, then there's some anxiety of loss. Now, if you're attached to the personality Godhead, you know that the temporary is going to go, and you're attached to the personality Godhead. That's where you go. personality Godhead. So, with this mix, something that Krishna is recommending, including the Varnasrama system, that has as its, a principal motivator to get something, to do something, to get something that I consider to be enjoyable. And even if it's in relation to Krishna, it's, I'm at the center and I'm enjoying. That's not a good program. One's a fool. I'll end with this. It really takes to get the clarity on the message. It takes having the big picture. I like calling it the big picture of what's the message of the Srimad Bhagavatam, and then how does this fit together with the big picture. If you don't know the big picture, you just take something that's over here, and it looks like somebody that doesn't know the big picture may take it that, geez, this Bhagavatam is smashing people that are highly religious, highly elevated, highly purified. They're calling them fools. Not interested. I'm walking away. Or devotees that may posture themselves, if they're not mature and they don't have the big picture. So, to be a responsible representative of the Bhagavatam's message, you have to have the big picture. That to have the big picture, it's a small thing, but you have to comprehensively and systematically study. Take something over here that resonates with you and get bewildered by something over there that doesn't resonate with you, and you just stay with the things that resonate with you, and you're not getting the big picture. Our acharyas have that. Srila Prabhupada, and in this case, the followers of Srila Prabhupada, his trusted, loyal followers, that were authorized to make these purports that Prabhupada did complete on the commentary of our predecessor acharyas. Takes time. It takes time to become a mature devotee and have the big picture and be a balanced person and not be off balance when you hear something that doesn't suit you, or something that you just don't understand. Or something that seems contradictory. Have any of you run across, let's say it together, has anybody not run across something in Prabhupada's writings that something over here and something over there, they seem to contradict? Anybody never come across that in your reading of Prabhupada's books? I don't see any hands. So how do you process that? And that's just, Prabhupada, but to speak of other sources of our acharyas and a picture of this and a picture of that. There's an attempt that's now in version 4, and they're working on version 5, of what's being called a foundational document that's meant to help ISKCON devotees today and tomorrow and for the next 10,000 years understand how to address themselves to those things, those circumstances. It's got a fancy term, it's called hermeneutics. Hermeneutics is how you read a text. How you read a scriptural text, but how you read a text. So the hermeneutics for texts. So the hermeneutics for ISKCON. How do you read the Vedas? And how do you read Prabhupada's rendering of the Vedas and our Acharya's rendering? Because if you don't know how to read, then you'll bump into a wall and get confused, or anyway. At this stage, it's only 156 pages, or 136 pages or something like that. And it's, being revised version 5. But it will help, it has to be, refined, carefully considered from different angles of vision by people that are very knowledgeable, they know the big picture, and even the people that know the big picture need to refine so that the presentation is, when it's like before the devotee audience, it's intelligible. It's not like so high you don't understand, you just put it on your shelf, you don't know how to read. It has to be comprehensive but accessible. Not an easy project. But it's an important project, very important project. Just like this one, Varnasrama, did Prabhupada want it or not want it? And if he wanted it, what does it look like? We can say what it's not, but what is it? And then another big one, how do you get there? Oh, and it's the keys are within Prabhupada's writings and, morning walk conversations, particularly in Mayapur, just on this one topic of Varnasrama, and then so many other topics. How do you approach the body of literature of our founder Acharya? Not only the present generation, but future generations. So preserving what the Bhaktivedanta archives have done is super fantastic. It's so valuable because they digitalize things so that decades, generations later, people can still access the audio recordings of Srila Prabhupada, of the morning walk conversations, and Mayapur where he's discussing Varnasrama or whatever else. What did he want with deity worship? Who's going to be the authority who's going to decide that? In Malati, who probably everybody here knows, her presentation in the ILS was about not making changes. Now, we're not frozen in time, but we need to know what are principles and what are details. And just, take the example of deity worship. I don't know if you've ever heard her go off on this, but she really goes off on this about deity worship. Even during our lifetime, where there's still a number of Prabhupada disciples around, deity worship has drifted and drifted in some places, and drifted. But it's not just standards of firm standards Prabhupada gave, but just activities that, what? And then what to speak of going out over, 50 years, another 50 years, another 100 years. Devi won't be recognizable. She's got a lot of anxiety about it. Ask her. You'll allow about 2 hours. Because she has a big concern, and rightly so. Now, we don't have to be rigid and fanatical, but we need to be educated. And where are you going to get that education? You ask different people that have had experience with Prabhupada about deity worship, and you get a different picture. Yes? Just like a kid, ask the people that are not going to say what you want, and you go to that person, and that's the authority you accept. What's going to happen over time? So, to preserve the integrity of our founder Acharya's intention is a big deal. It's very fine work, very important work, in so many categories, and this disciples of Srila Prabhupada, disciples, we say third generation devotees, that's going to be your challenge. Because during Prabhupada's presence it was simple. First generation, what is your intention? And Prabhupada would say, and that was it. Matter's done. And then comes the second generation, disciples of Srila Prabhupada, and what did Prabhupada say? And some say this, and some say that, and some say the other thing, and take your pick. And then when those people are gone, then what? That we actually have ISKCON that Prabhupada wanted. A lot of refining is needed, yes? can't get it wrong. Just like a ship. If you're off, a half a degree or 3 degrees and just keep going, you're not going to hit the place where you wanted to go to. So a little deviation can make havoc in the gift that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give, and our disciplic succession followed, and Srila Prabhupada gave to all of us. We have to get it right. Right. Not close, more or less. There's certainly opportunity for detail and adjustments of detail. No problem. What's the detail? What's the principle? That's a nice question. And take such and such, and is this a detail? Is that a principle? My dear devotees, the third generation, it's in your hands. Now, those that are trying to be responsible Prabhupada disciples want to make a good handoff and give tools so you can do your work. But there's work. And a very important starting place is read Prabhupada's books thoroughly. Not like, oh yeah, I read that one, what's next? Recently somebody asked me, I've completely read Srimad Bhagavatam, I've completely read Chaitanya Charitamrita, and I've now completed 4 chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita, the first 4 of Adi Lila, really heavy, dense ones. I wanted to read them again and make sure I caught more than I caught the first time. What should I read next? And that's a serious devotee that they're reading. You get the picture. Read Prabhupada's books carefully. If you want to see ISKCON stay on track. No, say it negatively. One of the things that you can do for sure that's going to help make sure ISKCON doesn't stay on track is don't read. Don't read carefully. Guaranteed, ISKCON will go off. Say it positively. If you want to be a participant in keeping ISKCON on track, read carefully. That's to read under someone that's a qualified teacher that's taught and studied. And they understand the big picture, and they understand how to teach. That's a very special person. I attended, some years ago, Mukunda Maharaj was teaching communications. Many of you know Mukunda Maharaj, so this was some number of years ago. His health was much better than it is these days. And he knows his stuff. He personally gave a lot of association to Anuttama Prabhu so that Anuttama Prabhu could understand how to do his service, and Anuttama Prabhu was doing his best to, train other people. Once Prabhupada said, Krishna consciousness is very simple. You learn something, become expert at that something, and teach others that something. That's Krishna consciousness. Now there was a context for that. This Borijan saying that one. So Mukunda Maharaj certainly knows his stuff about communications. And I was teaching at the VIH at the same time he was teaching. And it only took 2 classes or maybe 3. And he was not effective in being a teacher of that which he knew thoroughly. So then he started taking simultaneously Borijan's course on the art of teaching. Because he knows his stuff, but he didn't know how to convey the stuff to the audience. The audience was dropping out. They were like, I'm checking out Mukunda Maharaj's class on communications because he's not a good teacher. He knows his stuff. So, what I'm saying here is, not just somebody that knows the scripture, but they're good at conveying that which they know. And find such persons and proliferate such persons, and so that we can preserve the gift that Srila Prabhupada gave to the world, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, resembling that which is what he wanted. So I'm off my soapbox now. See if there's any comments or questions. Yes.
When I was in Mayapur at the ILS, I attended the Varnasrama, the Vanaprastha. There was a seminar.
Who taught it?
Devaki Nandan, Devaki Mataji, Devaki Devi.
Oh, Devaki Devi.
Yeah. And it was interesting, but one thing I liked about what she said at the end was that it's hard these days to go into the forest.
It's what?
It's difficult to go to the forest in the traditional kind of idea of Vanaprastha.
Yeah.
But that you should begin to bring some elements of the forest into your home, such as simplicity, or reducing the idea of living simply, devoting more time to devotional things like that. So it was an interesting way that she felt at least we could begin to get that Vanaprastha consciousness.
I didn't know she was teaching. If I knew that, somehow I missed it. I would have gone. She's awesome. Very out-of-the-box, deep-thinking person. I'll ask somebody to get the recordings of what she taught, because I'd like to hear it. It's important. I mean, thank you for sharing that. I'm sure that she presented, this isn't conclusive, these are some thoughts, like that. But she's a thoughtful person. Oh, I want to read what Jayaguru Sundar wrote also. Good. Thank you. Anything else? Yes? Microphone.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I was just thinking about this whole topic of balance and maturity. It takes time for both of them to happen in a devotee's life. And to go through Prabhupada's books and really understand, there's so many nuances about things, and that's what brings that balance and maturity, understanding those things in a certain context, with the intention spoken and all that.
Yes.
I'm just thinking that, but we're a preaching movement and we get into doing things when we're very young in our Krishna consciousness, and we speak things, we do things, we lead things, and there's ripple effects on the younger generation as we do that, and there's something it does to the faith and the heart of such individuals.
This is the newer people, or the persons that are representing that are immature?
The newer people.
Okay.
The newer people. So there's that part, and then there's also the other part that the person who's maturing and who's in general very sincere. He has matured and he is more balanced now, but still. Sometimes, there's still they're viewed like in some judgmental or stigmatic way, and they're not given the same opportunity, or, I don't know that there's a simple solution for this, but it's just if you had something to comment on it.
It's a big topic, and I'll just keep it simple. My response is some of both. To be relevant and relatable, we need young people. And that the young people need the mature, wise, experienced people. And the mature, wise, experienced people are not necessarily going to be the ones that are relatable to a younger generation set of people. So there needs to be mutual respect. That's, small thing. It's a cultural thing. Respect and appreciation. Balance. Just even in terms of those things. So say, for example, some growing sincere, using some of the terms you used, enthusiastic preacher, one's, let's expand the Hare Krishna movement kind of mood. Needs to look up to senior persons that are mature and experienced, and they're happy to receive guidance from them. At the same time, they're innovative and dynamic and learning. And one of Bhaktivinoda Thakur's phrases, this isn't verbatim, but ready to move to the next level, recognizing I don't know everything and I want to learn from those that are wise. And then at the same time making it relatable to the audiences that are out there. That's a good combination. And say it negatively, when either one of those are missing, then it's not a good situation. We're not relevant and relatable if it's just the older generation people that are holding all the keys and they have all the authority and see you later, Charlie. You can do book distribution or wash pots, but you can't, be in the front line giving Krishna consciousness in a dynamic way. You're not mature yet. You're going to put people off, and so, or the other way. So, a lot of that depends on the quality of the mature people and the quality of the young people. And that's a big range, the quality of both groups. That the first canto emphasis on Brahminical culture over and over and over and over and over and over. One of the ways of taking that is that's going to be the preservation and the effectiveness of ISKCON when there are persons who are Brahminical. They're not necessarily doing, but they're the wise personalities, and that they're not in a controlling mood, they're in a encouraging, guiding, and training mood. That's going to make things successful or not. If there are such people, and the more there are, the better, and just offering their wisdom and guidance. And that the younger generation are looking to them saying, I want guidance, and I want wisdom, and I want to make fewer mistakes as I'm being creative and exhibiting some kind of role of expanding the Hare Krishna movement, wherever one may be. The importance of Brahminical culture will become more and more evident and clear, the importance of it, and having such qualified persons who have regard and respect of others. Those are some thoughts on this. Someone else? Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki.
Yes, Varnasrama Maharaj.